You want answers?
I think I'm entitled to.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Free for All Friday. It is time to get it on. I hope you have some nice weekend plans. I strongly recommend you get away from the computer. You put down that remote control and you get some fresh air, some sunshine, some vitamin D, and maybe some vitamin A, scotch, and maybe whatever it takes to unwind a little bit. We're not done, and we certainly took a good pounding this week in the world of SHTF. And it's the Friday free-for-all, folks, and it's upon us. So let's get this into the tank and start burning through this fuel. I played the science video to start here because I wanted to bring up the Judicial Watch, and that would be Tom Fenton. Judicial Watch has uncovered dozens, folks, not one, not two, not three, but dozens of records of illegal molecular research conducted in America in violation of NIL guidelines, NIH. That's National Institutes of Health. But, ouchie, these guys, they never lie, they never make a mistake, they never admit to anything. Is that starting to sound familiar? I'm getting pretty much disgusted with everything coming out of Washington, D.C., because they never admit it when they have mistakes. They never admit that they've broken the law. They never admit that there's something wrong. Well, I guess Janet Yellen did this week, though, didn't she? Well, holy cow. Old Yeller said she made a mistake about the hyperinflation we're suffering under. I guess we'll give her a pass, but everyone else can get back on their heads. Well, it's a Friday free-for-all, and I like to mix it up. So get your questions in, your comments, your statements. Tell a lie, tell the truth, stump the John, whatever you guys want to do. And we'll go back and forth today. I have a complete, once again, massive migraine headache thanks to all the garbage that's out there. But I want to hear what you guys have dug up, what you're interested in. It's your show, after all. If you're on Patreon at The Prepared Mind, you can ask questions live, Monday through Friday, and especially on Friday Free for All. I may have missed something earlier this week. It's a chance to bring it up. And if it's really important, let's bring it up again. So I'm going to go with one more little tidbit before I get to your material. So once again, get it in the comments, get it to Jolene, get it to Ooman, carrier pigeons, smoke signals. I don't care how you do it. Just let us know what you want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about. Senator Lindsey Graham. That's right. Lindsey Light in the Loafers Graham says he is ready to do what? To vote on all gun control proposals mentioned by Joe Biden. That's our Lindsey, folks. No, he's not a Democrat. He's a Republican. No, he is not. He is a rhino Republican. That's a Republican in name only. This guy blows back and forth like a willow in the wind, bending to whatever sounds cute and is politically expedient at the time. But saying that he wants to vote on anything that Biden mentions, letting Schumer know, just bring stuff up, letting McConnell know, bring up whatever you want. I'll vote yes for it. No, I don't think so. What they're starting to feel, folks, is pressure. There's pressure coming from the coming election, and they feel it. Right? Now, I'm exhausted. I'm not exhausted with fighting for my rights and for your rights. I'm not exhausted with that. I'm exhausted with these political traitors like McCarthy and McConnell, right? As well as named Democrats who are openly traitors to their oaths and Constitution. That's what they are. There's no other word for it. And there's no other solution to the problem than to get these people out of office any way possible, lawfully. Lawfully, folks. We don't recommend or incite violence, anything dangerous or harmful. No. We don't violate terms of service, community guidelines, but we do say, let's get these bastards out of office. Get involved politically, locally, nationally, in every way you can, folks. These people are just bad news, up one side and down the other, and they're afraid. They're afraid that their power is going to evaporate. We need real leadership in this country, folks, real leadership. And I know that that's something that we are sorely lacking, sorely. Now, what shall we discuss? Jolene, let's see if we can find something to put up there that's worthy of a free-for-all Friday discussion. And there it is. We've got Kevin Altepeter. And he says, nothing is sacred anymore. These globalist scum will burn the whole world down if we, the people, do not comply to them and become their complete slaves. Well, what Kevin is referring to is their demand that we obey anything and their threat of scorched earth. I'll tell you what, Kevin, you and I, all of us here on the Prepared Mind, the Prepared Mind Network, the R Syndicate, we basically let it be known through our comments and social media by talking to others while our smartphone listens to us. They know that we're not going to comply. And so they have already engaged in scorched earth, right? They're going to burn it all down, not necessarily with matches and fire, but they're destroying everything, are they not? From people food to baby food, from taking our weapons to giving weapons to terrorists around the world. That's right, $85 billion worth of high-tech, sophisticated assault weapons, assault helicopters, assault tanks, assault rockets, assault drones, put in the hands of people with the average IQ of a cucumber salad. I mean, seriously, folks, if these people in the Taliban have an IQ of 80, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. But Biden gives it to them. Oh, Nelly, right? They want complete slaves, folks, but they can't enslave an intelligent population. See, if you go to school, if you learn, if you pay attention, if you remember everything, you realize and understand you're an intelligent, educated human being with a free will and therefore a free mind and a free body. And you understand history and the Constitution. You understand the Declaration of Independence and the Magna Carta. You understand that stuff. And you make a choice. So they've been dumbing people down as much as they can, refusing to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and instead teaching sensitivity and that gender dysphoria is just fine, and that gender or genital mutilation is good, that hating yourself, your family, your country, your race, your system of government, your history, hating everything about you is, well, that's what they teach. And so you end up with a completely uneducated population in general, even though many of these young folks growing up right now in their 30s, their 20s, their teens, and even, yes, kids under 10, very intelligent and learning facts and truth and rejecting all of this, but they're still, folks, going to push it. Their goal is to bring everything down. Folks, SHTF, the burn it down crowd, is the great reset crowd. Understand we are in it. That's right. I can talk to you through the internet. You can talk to me through the internet. Yet, folks, it is that bad. They get more benefit, they believe, out of the internet than to not have it, to take it away from us. It is very much a sedative for the American mind and the mind of the world to have the internet. And it keeps us busy yelling and shouting at each other instead of looking outside and going to the nearest, shall we say, government building and demanding some answers. I tell you, that was a big one right there. Great topic. Little cerveza cough there. I'm going to tell you what they're doing to burn it down big time. You know what the next big move is? I think they just announced it. Ooh, man, pay attention, buddy. The United States has reinstated or stated or said or admitted, quote, we do not support Taiwan independence. They put it on a fact sheet. It came out of the State Department in Washington, D.C. And so look at it this way. We just caused all kinds of problems in Ukraine. Russia invades, yada, yada, yada. Here we are 101 days later, and nothing but problems. The State Department says Taiwan is not independent of China. And if that's true, then Taiwan is a part of China in the US government opinion. Either you're independent or you're not. And the US does not support Taiwanese independence. Does that mean that they don't believe it is or they don't support it? Understand, folks, these people are asking for trouble. Way to go, Brandon. Right? Thanks, Joe Biden. China, folks, while being told they're expected by the State Department to resolve their issues with Taiwan peacefully, they have just been given the green light to invade Taiwan because, well, if they're not independent, then the US says that must be a territory. You're either a part of or you're not a part of. And if you are a part of, you are a territory. Ostensibly, folks, creating another invasion scenario the world is going to condemn and be upset about, but they're going to do no more than just sit back, watch, complain, maybe do some sanctions, right? But if the US State Department says, well, we don't support Taiwan independence, that's the same thing as saying, China, do as you will. Just be peaceful about it. Can they peacefully invade Taiwan, folks? Can they peacefully uninstall the elected government in Taiwan? Is that peaceably possible in Taiwan? Yeah, because in 2020, we had mostly peaceful protests that involved massive riots, assaulting police with, bottles of ice, rocks, bricks, lasers, explosive devices, improvised explosive devices, and even shooting them with guns. Yeah, that's mostly peaceful. Setting fire to courthouses, police stations, cars, businesses, looting, rioting, murdering. Yeah, go Democrats. This is SHTF. There is no doubt in my mind. Not a single doubt that we are in it, folks. We're in it. Breathe in, breathe out. What do we have next? Jolene, let's see who wants to step up next before I really step in some stuff. And it is none other than Latin American Preparedness. And he says this: the Dems, meaning the Democrat Socialist Party, they desire to disarm America. Biden announced a Second Amendment attack. Pelosi is introducing the bill next week, making owning banned gun a felony. Are Democrats getting desperate to get the Second Amendment repealed before the midterm? Yes, they are, for several reasons. Let's go over these. This is incredible, very important. Number one, if they lose their control of the House and the Senate, they will not be able to get any further gun control in. Now, they also run the risk of frustrating, angering, and pissing off Americans so bad that they will show up at the polls in even greater numbers come November. And the Democrats, who are already slated to lose, will lose even worse. They're willing to take that chance to get anything passed, anything passed. Anything. That's number one. Number two, they would love to make guns illegal so that if you try and use them, folks, any gun illegal, and if you end up using them in the commission of a lawful defense of life and family and others, then you still get to go to jail. They're pushing for a divided America. They don't care. I think that's self-evident at this point. They don't care. Owning a banned gun is a felony, according to who? You see, the federal government only has jurisdiction, that is authority, in Washington, D.C., in forts, arsenals, dockyards, naval bases, and U.S. territories. Now, I understand they think they can tell the people what to do. And I know and I understand that each state is a subcorporation of the federal corporation, Washington, D.C. I understand that. But there's another set of 50 states out here, and we are all free and distinct from Washington, D.C. I get it. We have a huge legal issue that well, very few know about, and even fewer are willing to address. It's just a matter of intimidation. It's a matter of law enforcement. Will your state, will your city, will your police department, will your sheriff's department, will they enforce unconstitutional gun bans? This is important. This is important. The gun ban stuff, right? I want to address this further, and we're going to continue to address this. We had another shooting today. I believe it was at a church. Isn't it interesting how we have incredible amounts of shootings as soon as, well, they lost the narrative in Ukraine. They lost support in Ukraine. We got a food problem. We got a baby food problem. We got chicken problem, right? We have bird flu problem. We have all kinds of issues with our infrastructure, from transportation system to electricity delivery and production systems. Let's not talk about that. Instead, let's have a bunch of mass shootings and talk about the Second Amendment. They need us disarmed, folks. They're going to lose their ability to do that come November, or by having, fraud so rampant, so filthy, so apparent to everybody that we could end up with armed resistance to any decision made. And this could come from either side, folks. It could. It is coming to that. It's coming to that quickly. Kaz, right? We got to keep our nose to the ground, nose in the wind, sniffing, listening, seeing what is happening, because this could get nasty quick. And I don't think the Democrats in Washington, D.C. care. I think they actually want that. So then they can scream, see, armed insurrection. See how bad these guns are? They would love that. They are pushing again for the 1994 assault weapons ban, right? Which was ridiculous. It was asinine. Now, in Congress today, in the House, there was a gun control debate, a discussion. And Florida's Republican representative, Matt Gaetz, was making a few points, and it pissed off the Democrat, David Cicilline. Right? He got mad about what Gaetz was saying. And he told House Republicans they should, quote, spare me the bullshit about constitutional rights. That was his quote. Spare me the bullshit about constitutional rights. How about spare me the bullshit about abortion rights and women's godlike health rights? No, right? They don't want to hear that those rights aren't to be discussed. But spare me the bullshit about your constitutional rights. Folks, when you hear a politician call our rights bullshit, then you know they are very serious about their efforts to steal our rights through bullshit statutes that are not law, because the law of the land is the Constitution. The law of the land is the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is our right. There is no statute that they can pass that is allowed to violate that very simple, very easy to understand, even though the word well-regulated means well-trained militia, not well-regulated as in controlled by government. Well-regulated is well-trained militia. The language is simple. Shall not be infringed. The right of the people, individually, not collectively. I believe McDonald said that decision of the Supreme Court, right? The Second Amendment is the law of the land because it's part of the Constitution, which is the law of the land. The Constitution, which restricts government power, government authority, is the law of the land. Not some jackass named Cicilline or Cicilline, right? To have any right legislated into oblivion, folks, means all rights are vulnerable to the same risk. And in every case where government assumes it has the authority to alter or abolish a right, our liberties all find themselves at risk, including our right to life and to freedom to move about, to be free. If they can take one right, they can take all. To wit, the government must remember that it is we, the people, who retain all rights, including the right, authority, and power to alter or abolish our government. That is our right, and it is always reserved, regardless of what Washington, D.C. thinks. Let me say that again. The government must remember that it is we, the people, who retain all rights, including the right, authority, and power to alter or abolish our government. I'm not calling for insurrection or violence. I'm letting you know what the law says. Check for yourself, though, because I'm no expert. I'm just a satirist. I'm just a cynical man. Right now, this thing about altering or abolishing our government, how is that achieved? Well, how that is achieved is up to the people, depending on the level of risk and threat a tyranny becomes. In other words, government is the servant, not the master, and they best heed our rights and wash the bullshit off their tongues. There are numerous cases that have come about since the assault weapons ban expired. It sunsetted. It went away. That's what happened. Right? It went away. Let me see if I've got it right here. There we go. Joe Biden is calling for the 1994 assault weapons bans to be reinstated. Said lawmakers should, quote, limit how many rounds a weapon can have. Folks, since that 1994 assault weapons ban passed and then expired, many Supreme Court cases have covered the Second Amendment as an individual right. And it is reaffirmed that the government, both federal and states, are limited. They have very limited authority to prohibit ownership of weapons, features on weapons, the appearance of weapons, the number of rounds any weapon may hold. Very, very little authority. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, none at all. Right? The assault musket from 1776 fired one round. The assault muskets the British Army had, the world's greatest military at the time, fired one round at a time. Assault muskets. Whoa, right? They also had assault cannons. That's right, folks. Regular people had cannon. And, well, they still can, if they wish, have cannon with no special permit required. So, assault musket, assault Winchester lever action, give me a break. Right? At this time, right now, today, after all these Supreme Court decisions have come out after the 1994 assault weapons ban was put to the test and expired, what makes our good buddy in the White House, Brandon, think the Second Amendment and recent federal and Supreme Court decisions can be ignored? Don't give me any bullshit about, constitutional rights. Bro, and you're not my brother, Cicilline. Your authority that you presume to operate under out of Washington, D.C. rests on the Constitution empowering you, you jackass. So if the Constitution has no bearing, then neither do you, nor Congress, nor the Senate in any fashion, nor the president or the Supreme Court. In other words, if the government is lawless, then we are without law. And if we're without law, then there's no law to obey other than that which we know we need to get through day to day. SHTF, Mad Max. So let's continue. Hang on to the next one, Jolene. I'm just going to segue my way right over into this. Jerry No Nads Nadler, Democrat douche, Democrat Party, Washington, D.C. He claims that 18-year-olds are too young for guns. But, hey, he doesn't agree that we should raise the draft age to 21. So what is this thing about 18? Well, it used to be back when they made up these laws that by the time you reached 18, you were basically physically mature and you had received enough education, and children used to work. That's right. I had a job from the time I was 13 doing something, whether it was stacking wood or doing weed eater stuff or whatever it took to get money to buy, candy and toys and games, whatever I wanted, right? Well, yeah, they said, well, if you're 18, you made it, you're an adult, and you get to enjoy all the rights that an adult gets to enjoy. Somehow, though, they said, well, hard alcohol, because that's a sin. Hard alcohol is sinful, whereas beer and wine are not. You don't get to have, well, any alcohol till you're 21 in most places. So now they want to say 18-year-olds are too young for guns. Well, I understand the claim that many children, once they hit 18, continue to be children. They're just not mature. But many are. So is there to be a political test? Well, so 18-year-olds can't own guns, but they can be drafted to fight a war. Or they can enlist and begin serving in the military at age 18. Not only possessing fully automatic weapons of war, folks, fully automatic assault rifles in the hands of 18-year-olds in the military. Can you believe that? But wait, there's more. They can also drive and fire tanks, 50 caliber machine guns, automatic cannons. They can toss hand grenades, handle rockets and missiles on bases and aboard naval ships. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. 18-year-olds can vote, but they are not to enjoy rights as an adult, right? Democrats do, by the way, want 12-year-old children to be allowed to vote. Remember that? 12-year-old children, though they don't have a sophisticated understanding of politics, economics, history, or any real experience as working tax-paying adults, they should be allowed to vote. That's what the Democrats want, right? Folks, Democrats are liars and hypocrites, as we know. And so are rhino Republicans, like Jackass Graham, Lindsay Light and the Loafers Graham. Anything a Democrat wants for others, folks, is granted in order to obtain more votes, therefore ensuring they're reelected. And the cycle of buying votes is perpetuated safely while removing the rights we possess that are inalienable, right? That is not to be taken by any government, state, or federal, right? Inalienable rights are not to be taken or restricted or limited or suspended by any government, state, or federal. We're coming down to some real fundamental concepts and thoughts. Fundamental concepts and thoughts. These liberals, folks, they're marching in lockstep. Today, Friday Free for All, federal grand jury indicts none other than Trump's advisor, a White House, folks, not a staffer, but a member of the cabinet, Peter Navarro. Now, I've been talking about Peter Navarro lately and also in the past. He was the one who got in the ring with Dr. A. Fauci and yelled at him and shouted him down in the Oval Office, folks. Right, in the president's presence, right, in the presence of everyone else, said, enough of your shit, you little turd. That Peter Navarro, who said this is bull crap, we need to get other medications out there. That's the Peter Navarro who doesn't take any shit off of lying bureaucrats and little power brokers who think they run this country when they don't. Now, the January 6th committee made a demand of Peter Navarro, told him he would show up and produce papers, the same way former Attorney General Eric Holder was told he would appear and produce papers and never did. The same way James Comey, Ruby Rod Rosenstein, and other FBI agents over the last, 6 years, 4 under the Trump administration, were told to appear in front of Congress and answer and provide papers, and they refused. Now, I think a few of them were held in contempt. Certainly not the big shots, but some of the littler guys. We had that little contentious punk, Peter Strzok, show up and sneer like an evil little elf who wants to be a dentist. That guy. Right? But get this, folks. Peter has refused to comply with the January 6th committee. It is an unconstitutional legislative body. Now, is it his duty, Peter Navarro's, to obey them? Now, let's see. Weren't Nazis under orders when they committed atrocities and then held personally responsible at Nuremberg for following those same orders? Yes. Yes, right? They were unlawful orders and they chose to obey, and they couldn't use that as an excuse. You don't have to follow unconstitutional orders. As a United States Marine, I questioned many orders. Never got in trouble for questioning orders that I thought were not lawful. Okay. Peter Navarro is been indicted by a federal grand jury. Now let me get this. Now, in part one of the Friday free-for-all, I've gotten a little constitutional. I've gotten a little declaratory with my independence, right? I got Magnum Carta going, right? Let me ask this, right? Let me bring this to your attention. In the Declaration of Independence, and amongst other documents from those times, King George and his tyrannical governors and red coat law enforcement manufactured complaints, made up charges against patriots, free men in colonial America. Their false charges and Star Chamber secret courts ran for years, folks, falsely indicting, charging crimes that didn't exist. They gave false testimony, evidence, if you will, and they used juries to convict that consisted of government agents, folks. And then they imprisoned these men and executed these men as an example so that others would be free men in the colonies would not take that route. The desired effect is one that we're experiencing now, folks. The desired effect was to scare the colonists into submitting to tyrannical authority. Fast forward 240 odd years. The exact same things are happening. The exact same things. False charges, lies, illegitimate authority, malicious and politicized prosecutions, false witnesses and false testimony, rigged juries, and grossly unjust convictions and punishments. Folks, we used to praise the early American colonists for standing up to the scumbags of London and their agents. And now we need to praise strong Americans and disobey unconstitutional scum that are the domestic enemies of the nation and its people. Semper Fi, Peter Navarro. As for us, folks, the real Americans, we better be aware. We better be prepared and well-regulated. Yes, we need to be well-regulated. Means trained. Understand your rights. Exercise your rights. And when you are in jail, and I never have been, but when you're in jail, folks, and I've been, I guess you could say, detained. Maybe you could say I've been held captive, but I've never been in a jail, never been arrested. But when you are held captive, when you can't leave, when you're trapped, you realize you don't have any rights, and you understand what having no rights feels like if you cannot exercise them, right? You always have your rights, but if you can't exercise them, say you're in a jail cell, what right are you going to exercise beyond breathing? Not much, right? You don't have a right to do a whole lot. You want to talk, you could get your teeth knocked down your throat. There's no self-defense because you're in their custody. There's no right to travel. No. Right. This is what people are starting to experience. January 6th, hostages. Right? The FBI arresting people around the country for doing nothing more than walking on public property. Peter Navarro is next, folks. He has clout. He's got piss and vinegar also. But understand that General Michael Flynn also, right, was powerful, but he was almost taken down. It took years to clear his name. Those are the times I think we are entering. Those are the times I think we're starting to experience, right? Meanwhile, right, the people in charge continue to commit crime after crime after crime after crime. Very few getting caught. Well, let me give you an example, though, of 3. And you're going to say, no way, it's not possible. Yes, folks, 3 Democrats. Uno, dos, tres. 3 were indicted by a federal grand jury for taking bribes, cash bribes. 3 Democrats in St. Louis, folks. City leaders. It's amazing. I guess they're not part of the team. And the reason I brought this up was, hey, there can be some justice. But also understand that these people that think they're on the winning team by supporting all this lawlessness, whether you're an elected official, an appointed bureaucrat, or law enforcement, if you want to join their team, you're not really on their team. You are nothing more than a useful idiot. And you will be cast aside. Cast aside. And that's how that's going to be. Just like these 3 St. Louis politicians. Hey, you're not really part of the team. You can't really get away with everything. You're not big enough. You're not powerful enough. And you will be caught. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. Now, the Bilderbergs, they're meeting in Washington, D.C. for the first time, right, since the pandemic. First time. Can you believe that? Bilderberg Group, folks. That's government. That's business. That's the aristocracy meeting and making decisions about our world. Right now, they're trying to make decisions on how to take control of America. They're trying, folks. They're working their asses off at it. Now, it is, let me remind you, the Free for All Friday. It's just a part 2. So let's do this. Let's see what you guys want to talk about. I think we've got some questions still that I haven't gotten to, and welcome back for those tuning in as we go. What do we got, Jolene? Have you got anything? I know we closed down the boards. Oh, we got Anita F. checking in. It says, statement. First time in my 50-plus years, the sugarcane farmers are growing soybeans on some of the farmland. Interesting. Well, none of this bodes well, Anita. The reason I say that is if you're going to grow soybeans, because let me step back. It's my understanding that farmers plant crops that make them the most money. If sugar contracts aren't good enough, they'll grow something else. But it is kind of a zero-sum game. We need so many millions of tons of sugar. We need so many millions of tons of beans or corn or wheat. And no matter what, if you stop growing the sugar cane, then you must be in a very interesting place if they're growing sugar cane. If they're not growing that, then there's going to be less sugar next year. That means more chemical sweeteners. There'll be less drinks out there. I don't know. We're going to have a problem, folks, because countries that can grow sugar cane and sugar beet, they're going to be growing and producing less because of the fertilizer issue. It was caused by Voldemort Zelensky and Russia duking it out over there, seeing who the boss is or playing who the bitch is. Very interesting, though, that for the first time in 50 years, sugar cane has come out of the ground and soybeans go in. That is pretty odd. Pretty odd indeed. Times are changing, right? We've had the World Economic Forum come out and say, time for the Great Reset. Right? They're going to tell you what you get to eat. Right? You'll be lucky if you get Impossible Meat with soybean, or you're going to be lucky if you get bugs, because they may just feed you seaweed and plankton and shit. We got a mess on our hands, folks. I recommend you learn right, to grow your own food. I recommend that you put away food. All righty. Food is important. Oh, we got Oregon Patriot here. He says, I have a bad feeling America is about to get bloody. If not, America will find herself on her knees and never stand strong again. Sad either way. Now, this is the topic I wanted to get back into, the Second Amendment. I want to take you back to Uvalde, Texas, and that school shooter where one untrained, one unexperienced or inexperienced, one young, delusional, sick monster had a semi-automatic repeating rifle. And the police didn't want to get shot. And the police didn't want to go in and face this guy. And the police wanted to go home to their families and a dinner that night. So they weren't going to risk anything while children were being shot and bleeding out. That's what the police attitude was. Trust me, that is more prevalent than what you're hearing coming out of the leadership in law enforcement that is trying to calm America down about its law enforcement. Yeah, there are some badasses and some very, very strong police departments and sheriff's departments out there that'll do things. But by and large, they are not going to go door to door asking or demanding anyone's weapons. That is far too dangerous for them. Because how many doors do you think they can knock on one street before they're told no in a very loud and authoritative manner that won't allow them to walk away from it? It's just too hard. It's too difficult. They cannot do it. And if they start doing it sneaky, one at a time, one house here, one house there at night in every city, it's going to take them years and years and years and years to accomplish if they try that technique. And even still, people will say, they came and took my stuff. They're coming to yours next. What is your attitude going to be? I'm going to be ready. They're not taking mine. Otherwise, America will be on its knees and we will be slaves in the land that our fathers, forefathers, and our ancestors turned from a wilderness into the greatest nation on earth in history. With the help of everybody of every age and gender and color, and every pronoun that sounded like him or her, because that's all there was. Yeah, take that, you little fruitcakes. I tell you what, though, folks, it's a great topic. It's an important topic. If you don't fight for your right, you forfeit your right. You just do, right? You do. Now, speaking of Fruit Loops, U.S. Marines were mocked over their Pride Month baloney, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Marines are fighting men, riflemen first. All this virtue signaling over Pride Month is showing psychological weakness and a prioritization of non-essential crap. If you are gay, whatever. Train to fight the enemy as a Marine, not to distinguish yourself sexually and create divisive groups within the Marine Corps or any other military organization. The people pushing this are a bunch of assholes. It's time to give that up. I'm sure there were gay Marines back when I was back in the late 80s. I'm sure they were there. I don't care. Right? Marine first. None of that other shit matters. We were told there was one color, green, not a rainbow of colors. There was one color, green. It didn't matter if you were black, white, brown, or any other color, you were green. And that's how we acted, and that's how we existed. Whether we were, in uniform, whether we were out in the field, whether we were on main side, it didn't matter where we were at. If we were at a barbecue with each other, drinking beer, it didn't matter what you were green. You're a Marine. You're an American. These people are idiots, folks. They're absolute idiots, and they're trying to destroy this country and bring it, yes, to its knees. Now, this is important. Once again, science. Science, folks, right? Follow the science. Well, guess what? Science, politics, unite, right? These idiots. Yes, science can show you that you're suicidal. Did you know that? Because science says it can. Yeah. Researchers are closer to creating a blood test for suicide risk. Did you know that? Well, I learned about it just the other day myself. So if you are in this condition, suicidal condition, determined by some test, then you are to be divested of all your rights, folks, including your Second Amendment, because nobody has rights when they are crazy and dangerous, incompetent, right? That's been a law for centuries. Incompetence, being a dotard, right? Being a fool. If you are crazy or dangerous, then you don't have rights. You are now an incompetent, right? So if you're in this condition, if you're suicidal, and they can determine it with a test, then they can take your rights. They've been trying this red flag stuff for years. They've been trying to say if you're suicidal or on medication, then you're not in your right mind, right? And so you need to have your guns taken. It's funny how that's the only thing they want to take. They don't want to take your driver's license, right? In the summer of love, 2020, Democrats encouraged violence. They called for the censoring and canceling of political opponents. And of course, they want children to choose a sexual lifestyle for life at the age of 5. They want all that. But, heaven forbid, right? You don't agree with them. And all they need is one test, folks, some way to prove it that you are not in your right mind. They're continuing to look for these loopholes, right? They want to use science the same way they use science in 2020 to lock us down. We need to become, shall we say, ungovernable in the same manner as the Democrats. That is to say, doing what we know to be right when the reputed authority figures, well, they might disagree. It's funny how, breaking the law is fine when you're a Democrat, but standing up to the law and standing up and saying, I am the law, because I'm following the law and the Constitution, they don't like that. Now, speaking of that, Arizona Governor Ducey has vetoed a new law that would require counties to cancel illegal voter registrations. Folks, this is why your participation in local politics matter. Making sure that only true Republicans make it into the primary and then the general elections. Because scum, rhino, pieces of shit like Ducey, and he is a true deuce, folks. They build a name and then recognition with voters over years who trust that they are in support of law and order, truth and justice, peace and tranquility. And then what we learn later when a-holes like Ducey are in place firmly is that they must be compromised to make such stupid and dangerous decisions, right? Otherwise, how does one explain their incompetence and willingness to ignore facts and our rights as the people? In other words, we all have the right to vote as adults. Nobody who has illegally done something, and to do something illegal is to have committed a crime. Now, there's violating ordinances and violating statutes. That doesn't make you any legal, right? It just means you've made violations or errors or whatever. But when you do something illegally, that registration needs to be thrown out. The person who illegally did that, whether they're an illegal alien, or let's say they are registering in every county they can run to, right? Maybe there's a crime there. Yeah, they're illegal. So those ballots need to be thrown out. Those registers need to be thrown out. And Ducey vetoed it. This is what happens, and this is what's going to continue to happen. The fight and struggle we have is not for 2022 and 2024. It's every single day we need to be on it. Folks, if you're going to be alive on the planet, if you're going to breathe oxygen, you may as well do something good with it, right? You may as well kick some ass. You may as well take some names, right? I live every day, right, to fill this head full of knowledge and information so I can share it with you guys. I can share it with the world. Right? That's what I really enjoy about my job is I get to be, I don't know, am I an activist or am I an information hub? Or am I both? I know I'm a satirist. I know I'm a cynical guy. But, I love my country and I want to keep it the way it was intended to be kept, free for me and for you. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed, God bless America, Semper Fi, and let's take some action. Get prepared first and prep to action. Make phone calls, emails, send all communication you can to friends and family. Talk to politicians, their offices, and let them know what you think. Tell them we're coming. Tell them you're a voter. Tell them you know people. Right? Do it. And thank you for sponsoring and subscribing at Patreon, for subscribing at YouTube, and for going to the thepreparedmind.club to get what you need, because we got crazy times ahead, folks, hard times. And all of our good buddies in DC that say, your constitutional rights are bullshit. Yeah, well, any presumed authority they have is bullshit, and they need to answer for it. Semper Fi.